Welcome to Mysterious Goings On. We're going to get right to the show after these messages.
Hi, this is Cassandra Lane. I'm the author of We Are Bridges, a memoir. You're listening to Mysterious Goings On with Alex Greenwood.
Mann had what appeared to be the perfect life, a successful career as a best-selling author and award-winning blogger, a devoted husband, teenage kids who weren't total jerks, and a badass minivan. So imagine her surprise when at age 47, a midlife crisis kicked her straight in the ladybits. Well, we're going to find out a lot more about that today as we welcome Jen Mann, the New York Times bestselling author with her latest book, Midlife Bites. Jen, welcome to Mysterious Goings On.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, being kicked in the lady bits is not pleasurable.
No,
but it's eye-opening, I assume. Yes.
It was very eye-opening. Yes, it definitely. It makes you wake up and realize what is going on in your life, and you maybe need to take a closer look. As someone who's written a lot about being punched in the throat or wanting to punch people in the throat, it was a very different thing. It was a lot more internal introspection this time. Instead of looking at everybody else, I was looking at myself.
You know, I got that from reading the book. I've got of course, listeners, I have a pre-publication book that I was fortunate enough to read. The actual new book comes out in January. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But there was this thing where I kept getting that you had kind of this, well, it wasn't kind of, it was an epiphany about your life. And the book covers, like every section of the book covers certain aspects of your life. We're talking everything from your body image to your relationship with your husband, with your kids, with other parents, all of these things. And the through line I kept seeing, though, was there was, and maybe I read into this, obviously, pardon the pun, but maybe there was this somewhat gentle surprise even at yourself throughout this book, because you had established yourself as the people want to punch in the throat person and very funny, acerbic, great stuff. But this one was like, wow, I just felt that punch in the lady bits, and I'm still a little surprised and reeling from it.
Yeah. Alex, I think you nailed it. It's awesome when somebody actually sees what I'm doing. You get it. No, it was, and I think that's why this book was so hard for me to write. I always read my online reviews. And so yesterday I decided I'd go on Goodreads and start reading all the reviews that are coming in from the early readers. And like 99% of them are very positive, but there was a lady in there who said, like, this, I normally like what Jen does, but this was a little too raw for me. And I thought, well, it was a little too raw for me too, lady. Like, just, I was really surprised. I really thought I'd kind of dodged that. I got through 40 and 45, kind of like, those were kind of like the best years of my life. I was sort of like, I am trucking, like, look at this. Like, I've never been, I've never had my career is great. My family is great. Everyone's healthy and happy. And, and I kind of figured out who I was, and I liked myself, and, and so I thought I made it. And then I got to 47, and then I was like, can I swear on here?
I think you should try.
Okay, great. So I got to 47 and I thought, oh, fuck. Like, what have I done with myself and my life? And you're lying. It's not that great. It's, there are things that need to be fixed. There are things that you need to come to terms with. And so I got kicked in the lady bits and I started writing, but it was a hard book to write.
Yeah. You and I have some things in common. We're both writers, and I've got to say, you've already achieved one of my life goals, which is to have the phrase New York Times best-selling author used within a mile of my name. So I think that it's interesting, though, that you get to this point, and you talk about this in Midlife Bites, where, yeah, that's so great. Yeah, and I got the kick-ass minivan. The kids aren't total jerks, all that stuff, right? Yet it's not the fully fulfilling thing that people would assume it is, right?
Yeah. And then there's some guilt that goes along with that because I know, like, I'm super lucky and I'm super blessed. And I've had like all these things that I know, like, there's people who would like, I talk about, there's one point where like I end up accidentally doing stand-up comedy. And the whole reason why I did it was because everybody in that room wanted to like, stick me with a fork because they were like, are you kidding me? Like I would kill to get on stage. And this guy is offering you a chance to get on stage. And you're like, I don't know. And so it's like how much more can I possibly want, right? And but yet I think we all do. I mean, I'd like to think that maybe even, I don't know, some of the billionaires are sitting around, who have achieved huge success and their names are, everyone knows it, but they're still like, yeah, but that's why those dudes are going to space, like that is a midlife crisis right
Well,
there.
that's just the 21st century version of hair plugs in a Corvette, I assume, but
pretty much.
yeah. Well, there's that show. I've watched a little, but anyway, I read a lot of commentary about these days, Succession, right? Where all these this billionaire family and they've actually interviewed people with money or know people with money. Said this is actually not too far from the truth. These people they have everything, but they're not fulfilled. They haven't looked inside themselves. And I'm not saying this about you, but a lot of these folks, because like you said, they're trying to do anything they can, right, to distract themselves from themselves.
Yeah.
You are brave enough to turn around and look in the mirror and go, okay, this is Jen. This is my body. This is not the body I think I have or I want to have. This is Jen. This is the situation with my husband's startup. This is all of these things. And I mean, and then you have the absolute, well, I don't want to say stones because you're a lady, but I mean, but you have the guts to put it all on paper, and I mean, folks, this is raw, but I don't mean raw in like a nasty way. It's raw in an honest way.
I hope so. I hope that came across. That is one thing, no matter what I've written over the last, I'm going to be celebrating my 10th year anniversary this year, this December of my viral hit that sent me off into this career that I have now. And over the last 10 years, I have tried to be as honest as I can with people. And I think that's where this book kind of came into it too, because there were some things I wasn't being really honest about. And I just felt like I needed to start a conversation because nobody was talking about this stuff. And, I started out in the parenting world. I was a mommy blogger back in the day, and we could talk about that and we could commiserate about that. But yet we all kind of hit our like late 40s and everyone starts whispering, about things and you don't know who you're just like, can I trust you? Can I tell you something? Because, how are you? And they've got that fake, I'm fine. I'm fine. Mm-hmm. Everything's fine. It's fine. I'm fine. I'm fine.
More wine, please.
Yeah, exactly. And so I just thought, no, you're not fine. I'm not fine. You're not fine. We should really talk about this.
Let's step back if we could for just a moment, Jen. Let's talk about punching people in the throat. You've kind of made a cottage industry out of punching people in the throat.
You've made a cottage industry, right? Oh, I have 5 now.
5? Oh my
5.
God.
I have 5 people in punch and throat books, and I've made a cottage industry out of it. Who knew? All my English professors from college are, rolling in their graves, going, "I can't believe it. This is what put you on the map, lady. Like this is what you did." But I'm Irma Bombeck with F-bombs. I wouldn't change a thing. I love it. It was a gift that was given to me, and I just worked really hard and kept it going.
I was going to make the Bombeck comparison. Grass is always greener on the other side of the septic tank, folks. If you don't know, go look it up. Gen X people, we kind of know that. There was even like Carol Burnett did a TV movie based on that one, I think. Yeah, but I mean, I wasn't sure if I was going to bring her up or not, but you are Irma Bombeck with F-bombs. And she was really the trailblazer there. But you strike me though as you've took the baton and you have just gone light years since there.
Well, thank you. That's very high praise, but she is the original. And and I think, when I wrote about the Elf on the Shelf 10 years ago in December, and that was the post on my blog, People on Punch and Throat, that kind of like set everything into motion.
Right.
And one of the very first comments that came through was someone saying, "Oh my God, you're just like Irma Bombeck." And then she did like ... She's like, "But with F-bombs," like, and I thought that's exactly, because I would try to explain sort of what I write, because no one knows quite where to shelve me in the bookstore. No one knows. And even Midlife Bites. Is it self-help? Is it memoir? Is it a rant? Who knows?
Yeah, is it humor even?
Is it humor? Yeah.
Right. Which of course, gets back to you being invited to do stand-up. I mean, my gosh, because you are funny. It's interesting because I'll be reading along and you'll have this stuff that's pretty heavy, and then you'll just at the end of the sentence just put a little turn. And I'm sorry, I have notes here, but they just went out on me. But little turn of phrase at the end. Yeah, typical podcaster lament. But anyway, and there's this wonderful turn of phrase. So I wanted to ask you about that really quickly, though. Mm-hmm. You said since you were 5, you wanted to be a writer, right? Mm-hmm. And you still believe you have the great American novel in you, don't you?
I do.
So tell us a little. Come on, a little.
Well, I just think I still have more to tell. It's interesting because I think that the key word right now, and when you hit midlife, is pivot. Whether we're all thinking of Ross and Rachel, moving a sofa with a pivot, but we're all kind of pivoting, and it's like I've reached a point where I want to punch through. It was kind of winding down anyway. My kids are teenagers. There's not a lot to write about. They're kind of, it's not funny. They don't find it funny. And so Midlife Bites again was another kind of, it came out of the blog. It was a blog post I wrote, and it caught on, and I thought, oh, that's great. And this is a great pivot, and I can't wait to do more with Midlife Bites. But also deep down, I also still have like a book inside me, a novel inside of me that I really want to write. And so I have actually been working on it this year because I'm under contract. So I can't, I'm traditionally published and I'm self-published. So right. I have a foot in both worlds, but I can't self-publish anything right now because I'm under contract with Random House. And so gotcha. I thought, well, I might as well take this time, and because I don't know quite where I'm going next. I don't know if Midlife Bites, if it takes off, I'll of course want to add to that and do more with that. But if it, we're not going to talk about it. It's going to take off and it's going to be fine. But, like knock on wood or, but, it's like, but I still have this, I think we all do, don't we? I mean, there's always one more book that we want to write that we haven't written yet.
Absolutely. I just turned in my 8th for my series, and I basically said I'm done. And I've already got people going, you're not done.
Yeah.
You're not done, buddy.
You're not done.
You're not done. And that's a great feeling. Even if it's just 2 people telling you that for me, that's boom. There you go.
That's it.
So Jen, but when we talk about that, there's so many things that stand out about me, but there was this particular part, and it's about men. And I want to talk to you about, and now obviously I'm male and I'm married and I'm a Gen Xer. So, and I like to think I'm not quite just a moron when it comes to anticipating my wife's needs that she doesn't express because she's trying to be mom and she has a career and all these things. But you outlined a few things though about your husband in particular. He did a startup, and you went after it. After a while, you just couldn't swallow some things anymore, and you basically reached out and said, "You're being selfish." Mm-hmm. And I just thought that was a very powerful thing. I think a lot of women, like a lot of men on the flip side, are loath to say that to their partner. That must have been the hardest thing ever.
Yeah, it wasn't great. It wasn't a very good day, but I felt like it needed to be said.
She's like, why did you ask me that?
Like we literally have a therapy session in an hour. So, because it's like, I think that probably was the meanest thing I could say to him. It was really mean, but I felt like it had to be said. Again, I tell the truth to everybody. And I just,
No, I didn't mean to like hit a raw nerve. I apologize.
Yeah, no, you're fine. Right, you're fine. I mean, it's in there. I put it in a book. I got to be ready to talk about it, right? No, but yeah, no, it wasn't great. It wasn't my best moment, but I also still stand by it though. Like, I feel like the way I looked at it was, no successful man would ever tell his wife, or excuse me, let me rephrase that. Like, no wife tells her successful husband, like my mother was a stay-at-home mom, and like I have lots of friends who are stay-at-home moms, and they chose that so that their husbands could have success. Like, my mom has told me time and time again, like, there was no way for your dad to do what he did if I worked too. Like, somebody had to be here and take care of you guys and take care of everything else, and so he could just focus on his work. And I thought, never in my life would my mom ever sit my dad down and be like, I need a legacy too. Like, I need to do something too, to have my name up there too. And that's what really set me off, because I just thought of all the women I know who stand by and support their husbands, and their husbands never think twice about, gee, did you want to do something today, honey? That, did you want to do something different with your life? And and I'm not saying that that's a bad choice. Those women made that choice and they're happy. And many of them are happy with their choice. Don't get me wrong. But I just know that sometimes I would see like my mom, like I went off to college and my mom was really angry when I left for college. And I remember asking my dad, I was like, what is she so mad about? And my dad's like, because you're going to do something that she never got the opportunity to do. Like she never got to go to college and have a career. And my mom's had a great life. Like she's a very, she's a very well cared for lady, but it's like, but there's still things that I think deep down, if she was honest, she probably wishes she could have done something maybe a little bit different, but she would have never sat my dad down and been like, here's the deal. Like, I need you to dial it back so that I can have a career now. And when my husband told me that, I just felt like, hang on a second, like I need you to help me. Like this was our goal. We were once on this path,
Right.
And now all of a sudden you want to go on a different path. And I think that's incredibly selfish. And so I said it.
You talked to a friend about this and you said, there's resentments in every marriage. And she said, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Festering resentment is not a good thing. And
that was really eye-opening too, because I have always prided ourselves, like, people will say, gosh, you guys bicker a lot. Like if they were around us, he and I bicker a lot. And I'm like, yeah, that's a sign of like a good marriage. Like you're supposed to work it out. Like you're supposed to fight it out, and my friends would be like, are you though? Like, is that right? And I would just be like, what do you know? And then, but when it was the whole resentment thing, I was like, well, we all have resentments. And like the look on her face, I was like, oh, fuck, we don't. Oh, I'm like, I'm super wrong here. And she's like, she's like, that's not good. And that's when I decided like, yeah, we needed to really talk about it. And thus the need for therapy.
which is healthy though. That was my point I was trying to get to though, is that not only was it brave of you to do that and to just say, okay, wait a minute here, I'm 50% of this partnership here and I got some words for you. I mean, my spouse and I do that. We try not to, we're not one of those couples like, don't go to bed angry. Well, yeah, every now and then, but we're not into that, but we're definitely into communication and talking to each other about stuff. And like you, we're generally a united front with the kid. Unless one of us is being a total dick, and then there you go. Okay, fair enough. Well, I wanted to say that the majority of our listeners to the show are female. That's according to my wonderful stats and all that stuff. So they know that I'm pretty open about when I'm a total idiot. So but I read that and I wanted to tell you that while I don't feel like I'm like a total Cro-Magnon, there are some things there I saw in what you wrote that I think will be beneficial to me going forward as in my relationship with my spouse and with my daughter. And so I really appreciate that. And so I really think that I think that a lot of men could benefit from what you're writing here, and in a lot of ways.
It's interesting you say that, because you're about, I don't know, second or third husband now that has read this book in advance, or even the blog post, because the blog post that kicked it off is still up on the blog and it's in the book as well. It's the intro to the book. And so, but I'll hear from men, of course, there's men that don't like what I have to say, but the ones I like to hear from are the men who say, I understand my wife a little bit better now. Like, I think I know a little bit better, especially, there's a chapter in there called like, I do every fucking thing. And I think that when, the whole, there's a lot of articles out now that they're starting to recognize like the extent of the mental load that the women are carrying in a relationship. And even just this morning, like I told my husband, I said, and that's something that we're working on, because I said, our son needs a dermatologist appointment. We don't have a dermatologist. I need to find one. And he was like, would you like me to do it? And I was like, oh my God, yes. Like, please, like just things like that. Like, oh yes, please, cause he used to say like, well, I like to grocery shop. And I'm like, yeah, but you want me to go with you. Like he thinks that's a date. And I'm like, that's not a date. Like I need you to get everything on the list so I can do things here. And then we can come together and have dinner tonight, And I'm like, if you want to date me, then date me. But taking me to the grocery store is not helping me. So I think I need a chapter in there just dedicated to the men folk who want to read it and understand a little bit better, and what you guys can, because I think that's what men need. Like, I've decided that men need, like, you guys need like, you need specific instructions. Like I can't just say, do the dishes, and I've seen this with my teenage son. I have to be like, he'll be like, what do you mean? And I'm like, pre-rinse them, get all the food off of them. Like, like put them in the dishwasher in the correct slots where they belong. Add soap, close the door tightly, and then turn it on. And then when it's done, you must unload it. And he's like, oh, unload it. Yes. And put them all the way where everything belongs. I'm like, and you know where spatulas go, and you know where forks go, like put nothing left on the countertops. So I think that's what I need to do, is a whole chapter of just, because I don't think that men are unwilling to help. I think they just don't know how to help. Am I right? Am I
it's
wrong
only
here?
it's only by dint of my kind of somewhat OCD tendency to want things tidy
Mhm.
that I just do the dishes. I get up in the morning at 5:30. I go in and just unload the dishwasher, reload it, whatever. I know it's the
Bless
sexiest thing
you.
about me. Let me
I
just
was
tell you.
like, whew.
Yeah, I know, right? Look out,
Your
ladies.
wife is a lucky lady.
Yeah, tell her. Yeah, but I'm that way. But I think that's a thing men need to understand too. And by the way, dudes, this whole like gender role, task thing is bullshit. I mean,
Bullshit.
you know what? You're not just mowing the lawn and barbecuing burgers. Okay, you can make regular dinner at the, in the kitchen.
Yeah.
You need to do there's so many things, but that's one of the things where I feel like I'm earning my keep in the relationship too.
That's cool.
Because I'm kind of flipped from where, it's kind of like with you. I mean, I'm a writer, I'm a PR consultant, but she's the one with the corporate job with the benefits. Okay. I've got to support her. Okay. And that's the way it is. And my daughter, she understands how that is. And she loves that dynamic. And I think that's a healthy thing for her to see.
Totally.
But again, I totally love your idea, Jen, about, maybe when your next edition, when you sell bestseller, this one, you could get a revised with a little checklist for dumbass men, just so we know.
No, for the good ones, for the good men. That's the thing. That's
true.
the thing. It's like, growing up watching all those sitcoms where it's like the husband was always like a dolt and the wife, like, I don't think that did you guys any benefit. Like, we all were like, yeah, look at that powerful lady, like juggling it all and your idiot husband, like, and so it's like, I want to kind of like get away from that too. Or try, I don't want you guys I don't want to make a list for idiot husbands. I want to make a list for husbands who love their wives and want to do the right thing.
I appreciate you saying that, because that's a pet peeve of mine for years. Like, I will not watch sitcoms where the man is a total fool. I just won't do that. I don't think it's all that funny. I wouldn't think it was funny if the woman was a total fool. It's just really, come on. I think that's all. And you're right. I don't think it does men any favors, because we start to think that, well, okay, we're all going to be Tim Taylor on to a, we're going to be that guy,
Ray Romano,
Ray Romano.
Like, and I feel like, let's just all make fun of the neighbors. Like, that's really let's like all agree that the neighbors are dumb. And so we'll just make fun of them.
I think that's my spirit animal right there, is that the neighbors are dumb. That's it. Yeah. That's it right there.
That's it. That's all we got to do.
Oh, and one last thing here. I know we're running out of time here, and you've got things to do, obviously, but I do feel a little bad. But anyway, okay.
No, you're fine.
Okay. One more thing about men. Forgive me, I'm a male. I see your way down some of this. Is the Dave. Can you just tell the listeners about the Dave, please?
Oh, I just got like hot thinking about it. Okay, and hot in a bad way, not like with the dishes. So Dave. So I do a lot of, before COVID struck and we were all homebound, I used to do a lot of like public speaking. And so I would be, like different civic organizations and things like that would bring me in and I'd speak. And so I was speaking, I think it was a Chamber of Commerce. And sometimes the chambers of commerce and the civic organizations, unless it's like a real female focused one, it's like, it can be a tougher audience because I'm not that friendly and to the men folk. And so I'm trying to do better, but I'm really about empowering women. And so I'm kind of used to, like, I've had men walk out, I've had men kind of harumph in the back and that kind of thing. And so, but Dave was different. And so I did this whole thing and it was like a luncheon. And so afterwards, I always have like a little table set up and I can sell all my books to them. And so I have this line and it's like all like women in the line practically at this point. And Dave comes over and asks if he can like look through the book before he decides if he wants to buy it. And the book was called Working with People I Want to Punch in the Throat. And I said, of course, go ahead, grab a copy, look at it, whatever you want to do. And so he's kind of thumbing through it. And there was something in there about mansplainers. And so he said, mansplaining. He said, I don't think you know what a mansplainer is.
That's too much. That's perfect.
And like, they're like 10, because it's kind of winding down. And so they're like 10 women at the line. And like all of us, like our heads just went, like it was like the record scratch moment kind of thing. And we were just like, and one woman was like, did you just say what I think you said? Like, did you just say that out loud? And I was like, oh, Dave. And he kept calling my book a little book. He's like, what's your little book about? And I was like, well, my little book is a New York Times bestseller, but whatever, that's fine. You can call it a little book if you'd like. Is it too heavy for you? I'm confused. And so finally, after that, like we kind of went back and forth about it. And finally I was like, you know what, Dave, why don't you go ahead and I'll just take that back. And I just took the book and I was like, you're blocking my table. And because another thing I write a lot about is that I am not everybody's cup of tea, and I don't want to be everybody's cup of tea, and I don't aim to be that. I just want to be there for the people who I want to be there for. I had 10 people lined up who wanted to talk to me and wanted to support me. I don't need to waste any more energy on Dave. Like, we are done talking, Dave. Thank you for stopping by, but now you're blocking my table. Please move along. So that's what happened.
He was probably, brought up on the toxic soup of Rush Limbaugh and the feminazi thing.
Yeah.
And, anytime a woman stands up for herself as a human being, there must be something suspect about it, that kind of crap.
Yes.
I'm sorry you run into that. I've got to be honest. I was reading it. Okay. That section. And I kept waiting on you to go, now this didn't really happen, but this is how I think men perceive me. But no, it really happened.
No, it really happened.
There are witnesses. It's crazy.
The thing is too, is that sometimes like that, I'm getting paid to be there, and it's kind of, they're more professional people. So I usually, I kind of like different personas that I can put on. One time I got kicked out of not coming to speak to a church group because they were worried I'd like stand up on the pulpit and be like, thanks for fucking having me or something. So it's like I can switch, personalities if I need to. And so, when I'm there like that, like I'm trying to be very like more professional, like I'm firm, but like, yeah, I mean, if this was just like a normal old, like, cause I host my own book signings a lot too. Like if he had just shown up or had wandered by at something that like I'm doing by myself, oh, we would have had so many more words. But like, because like I'm trying to keep it like civilized and kind and calm with him, I was like, you need to move. But no, it happens. I mean, my favorite is there's always an older man, like my dad's age, like 70 something, there's always old men that will come by and tell me that punching in the throat can kill somebody. And I'll be like, cool. And like, I'm just like, okay. And they're just like, well, that's. And there's always a lady who tells me that there's always some lady that will tell me my titles are violent. So Midlife Bites, I feel like, what is that meme about? Like, we're all going to be old people in the old folks home and we're just going to bite people. Like, and so I hope that's what they think now. That I'm just like, I'm a biter. Like, I'm just like, yeah, like I'm gonna get you. Don't come too close.
Man, yeah. I would just say bite me, but yeah, you're doing better than me on that. Last thing. There, for your constituency out there, there's lots of women who are reading your books, and what if they feel like they've got to reach out or change something in their life, and maybe they want to blog, or what you give a lot of suggestions of things people could do once the kids have flown the coop and you're kind of staring across this empty room at your spouse, maybe some things that could give them some actualization and more purpose in their life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, writing is always, that's my purpose. And so I always like try, and I think writing is a therapeutic thing. Like, even if you're never going to publish it, like I always tell people I have 600 published blog posts and I have 600 unpublished blog posts, in my drafts folder. Like, there's just things that I write down that are just not for public consumption at this point, or never were. I mean, I'm so fucking pissed. I mean, whatever it is, like just make a list. And so, I'm always pushing writing on people, but it's not for everybody. And so, this year we did get a pandemic puppy, and I do understand now the dog people out there. I understand how a dog does kind of calm me down. And like last night, I think all of us, we had a bad night last night. We were putting up the Christmas tree. And so there's a lot of, and at one point the poor dog is laying in the middle of the room and we are all petting him. We're all just like, so like, I mean, he loved it, but so I think, and I think just figuring out what your passion is and following your passion. And I mean, obviously if you want to start blogging or writing, I have a book about that too. And, it's called How I Fucking Did It. And so it tells you everything. It tells you all my secrets of what I do and how I did it. There's not a big secret. It's just luck and hard work and, just making sure that you're consistent and that you have a strong voice and a strong story to tell.
Well, with you, it's luck, hard work, and talent. You're an excellent writer, and
thank you.
It's a captivating read. Jen Mann is leading the movement to create a new space where middle-aged women can share openly and honestly with one another. That space is on Facebook. It is called the Midlife Bites.
Midlife Bites. Yeah, it's a private group. It's called Midlife Bites. I created it really soon after I wrote the blog post. I wrote the blog post about 3 years ago now. And once I started getting the reaction to that, I thought, well, we need a place. And my audience, I have over 1 million followers on Facebook. And so my audience kind of lives on Facebook. I've tried to move them. They won't go anywhere else.
Yeah.
So we're kind of stuck there. So I created a private Facebook group, and it's for, I would say, female identifying people who are going through the hormonal changes of midlife and maybe a midlife crisis and things like that. And we kind of talk about everything in there. It's kind of it's not for everybody. It can be a little saucy. And because I think the very first, and I wrote about this in the Midlife Bites book too, the very first post, when I created this group, I thought, oh, I'm going to keep it kind of serious because all my other groups are wild, I was like, I'm going to keep this one serious, and we're going to really talk about important things. And so I was trying to find like scientific articles and shit that I could share in there. And because I thought, well, I got to get the discussion going. And in the meantime, this woman, she shared about, it was July or August, we were all really hot. She shared about frozen dildos. And I was like, and we're off. So there we go. Once again, Jen Mann leads the way.
I'm telling you, frozen dildos. And the line about the Flavor Ice Company, by the way, that one, classic, chef's kiss on that. So well done. And listeners, you're going to want to read that line. It's hilarious. The whole book is, I don't drop a lot of F-bombs on the show, but I will. It's a fucking hilarious book. You've got to read it. Midlife Bites. Jen, more about you. What's the link? We're going to put it in the show notes. Where'd they go?
They go to jenmanwrites.com or peopleiwanttopunchithroat.com. You'll find me there.
And January 4th, the book comes out, but good news, you can pre-order it now. And I'm going to tell you something as a writer, you writers listening out there, pre-orders are the lifeblood of a new book. Get out there and get this book.
Please.
Jen Mann, I have had such a good time meeting you. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor, and I've learned a lot reading your book. Thanks for joining us here on Mysterious.
Thank you, Alex. This was a lot of fun. It was totally worth putting on pants for, and I'm so glad I'm here. And I can't wait to listen more. I just found you. I just found this podcast, so now I got to go back and listen to all the episodes.
Oh, bless your heart. Lots of writers out there. Our good friend Michael Mackey introduced us, and I should throw that out there.
We should give a shout out to Michael. Yes.
Well, hey, Jen, do me a favor with Michael. If you thought this was okay, tell him that so I can get him on the show next year.
He's a blast. Have you listened?
Yes.
So I have a podcast, and he's on my podcast, and he is an absolute hoot. So he should totally come on. Why wouldn't he?
Exactly. Well, I'm going to put a link. Okay, folks, there's going to be a lot of links. You know this about me. I mean, there's going to be a buy link. There's going to be your website. There's going to be blah, blah, blah. It will be at mgopod.com. It'll also be in the show notes for where you get your podcast. As well as I do, I say this every time. Sometimes the stupid aggregators, they strip out the links. Good news is there's no stripping at mgopod.com because nobody's asked. But anyway, point being, go to mgopod.com and you can learn more about this. And again, Jen, I've enjoyed it. And hey, good luck on the book and happy holidays to you.
Thank you. Same to you.
I love podcasting. I have since 2006, back when you had to use like a Dixie cup with string to make the thing work. And that's why I'm so excited that we recently moved Mysterious Goings On to Anchor FM to record our podcast. I gotta tell you, I don't regret it a bit. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. And you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. I'm not going to lie to you, when I first heard about Anchor, I was a little dubious because I've been doing it the hard way for so long. But I got to tell you, it's very easy. Use a Stripe account. Get sponsors. You're not paying monthly hosting fees. The sound quality is great. The distribution is phenomenal. Friends, download the free Anchor app today if you want to start your own podcast, or go to anchor.fm to get started. Remember, you heard it here first on Mysterious Goings On. Thanks so much for listening to Mysterious Goings On. Don't forget, we have a complete archive of all of our interviews, monologues, updates, live readings, dead readings. All of that stuff is available at mgopod.com. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to us so you never miss an episode. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the usual suspects. Please join us there. Again, don't forget, mgopod.com also has links where to find me on social media and how to get in touch in case you want to be a guest here on the show. Well, I think it's time that I move on for this week, but until next time, keep reading.